Hello, my friends, and welcome to 15 Program Manager Interview Questions. Now, this is going to be a rather long session because there's a couple of things that we're after today. One is to understand what program management is, and two is to talk about the Program Manager interview and give you very clear ideas of what to expect. So, let's talk about program management first of all. What is program management? Program management is often defined as the application of knowledge and skills, tools, and techniques to a program to be able to experience benefits and control that would not be available by managing the individual projects in the program separately. You can say that program management is a systematic approach to the coordination and administration of multiple interrelated projects. You see, for it to be a program, we must be talking about multiple projects, and not just multiple projects, but multiple interrelated projects. And these are happening at the same time, you see. So we're talking about projects and activities that are interrelated and aimed at achieving a common goal. Program management encompasses a wide array of processes and methodologies to ensure the successful delivery of a program and its intended outcomes. When we talk about the program manager role is responsible for overseeing all aspects of the program, from the definition of the program and planning of the program to executing, monitoring, and controlling, and finally closure of the program. And this could span across several months and even years. Let's talk about governance. A well-designed program governance plan is an important component of program management. It provides a framework for decision making, and it ensures that the program conforms to established expectations and agreements throughout its life cycle. When we talk about a program life cycle, the life cycle is divided into three major phases. There's program definition, program delivery, and program closure. Now, when we talk about program activities, we refer to things such as change management activities, communications management, financial management, information management, procurement management, quality management, resource management, risk management, schedule management, scope management, and we also talk about support program management and governance. The program manager has to coordinate all of these activities I've mentioned to ensure the successful delivery of the program. So let me ask you this. Is this similar to what you thought program management was? Because it's a very wide topic. I could spend the next 1 hour solid just giving you the introduction. In fact, if you look around YouTube, you'll find my 1 hour introduction to program management. I'll endeavor to put a link to it somewhere. But to be an effective program manager, it means you have strong leadership skills and the ability to effectively manage and motivate cross-functional teams. It also requires a deep understanding of an organization's strategic objectives. So whichever firm you're in, what are their strategic objectives? What is the definite chief aim of that firm? And it also requires the ability to align program outcomes with those strategic objectives. So in summary, program management is a critical function in any organization that helps organizations to achieve their goals and deliver value to stakeholders. Now you've got a good understanding of program management, or much better than before. Why don't we go a step further and let me show you some jobs for program management. Let's jump straight into DICE, and right here on the screen you can see I've got a job from dice.com for Senior Program Manager Enterprise Products. Let's scroll down and take a look, and it says job duties. In this role, you will manage executive project expectations, including the escalation, communications, and C-level interaction on critical, you see that word again, strategic projects for the company. Help guide the design, planning, development, and implementation of, again, strategic, you see that word, corporate projects, the scope of which includes program reviews, executive communication and approval, requirements gathering, and eventual deployment. It goes on and on. Supervise coordination, program deliverables, collaborate cross-functionally to effectively guide projects. So In the interview questions I show you, you're going to see a lot of questions about the cross-functional aspects of teams, documental aspects of the program, including requirements, risks, issues, project schedules, and meeting agendas, so on and so forth. So you can see this is a rather robust breakdown just in the description alone. You can see that lots of content to understand here. And going a step further, they're looking for bachelor's, 4 years of experience, the ability to convey urgency throughout a given program, dynamic personality that can quickly establish trust and rapport, ability to operate in uncertainty and adapt quickly, the capacity to document, vet requirements, and drive quality. So it sounds like a lot, but this is what program managers need to come with. Here's another one. Scroll down. This is a contract type thing, and it says end-to-end IT infrastructure management. Seasoned, proactive, and business-savvy professional with a well-earned reputation. You see, reputation is really big in a program because it's touching so many parts of the firm. Proven ability to understand big picture. That's another thing. Big picture, the strategy. This just comes with the program manager role. Here's another one. IT program manager remote. Let's read the full description. Going down, it says experience with both traditional and waterfall and agile project management methodologies, demonstrated experience in task, risk, and scope management, the ability to communicate about technical matters with business stakeholders, business matters with technical stakeholders. You see, that person's a go-between. It's mentioning some agile terminology here. So the summary, my friends, is this needs to be a seasoned individual with a very wide net of abilities, really wide net of abilities. This would not be for a lightweight. One more here. This is within the United Kingdom, and you can see the salaries are quite appealing. But we got program manager, different levels, different opportunities here, engineering program manager. So for you to be able to survive in such a role, you have to be business savvy, a big picture person, a strategy person, someone who really knows the ins and outs of what a program is and project management in general. All right. So my friends, we are moving back into our discussion about the work of the program manager, and I am going to be giving you 15 interview questions today for the program manager. So if you are ready to roll, let's go. 15 program manager interview questions. All right. So you know the way I roll with this. I want you to take a few moments, think about what I'm going to ask you, and then I want you to return and listen to what I have to say. Here's your very first one. I'll give you a sample answer, but for now, there is your question. Can you tell us about your experience in leading cross-functional teams and coordinating multiple projects? You take some time. Think about this. Okay, now I'm assuming you've hit the pause button and you're back. So, this is how you could answer the question. During my time at the semiconductor company, I led a team of engineers, designers, and product managers to develop a new software platform. I coordinated the efforts of each team to ensure they were aligned with the program goals, while also keeping an eye on project timelines and budgets. At the Aero company, I managed several projects concurrently, working with cross-functional teams to deliver on program objectives while maintaining high levels of collaboration and communication. That is an example of how you can answer that question, my friends. So you got to have your experience ducks in a row. Let's go to the next one. Number 2. How do you prioritize programs and manage conflicting demands? Take some time, hit the pause button, before listening to my answer. You could say something like this. I prioritize programs based on a number of variables, including strategic importance, resources required, value, risk, and deadlines. When demands conflict, I work with stakeholders to ensure we have a common understanding of trade-offs, and I make informed decisions with my stakeholders that balance priorities and maintain progress towards our overall goals. All this is balanced with knowledge and insights from C-level executives in the firm to ensure that their strategic value and importance is factored in to the overall final decisions about what is prioritized over something else. Let's go to number 3. Can you give me an example of a time when you had to make a difficult decision in your role as a program manager? So your answer to this question could be something like this. I recall a situation in the semiconductor firm where the team was behind schedule on a critical program, and we faced pressure to release the product before it was fully tested. I made the difficult decision to delay the release and invest additional resources into testing for 2 more weeks to ensure a high quality product that met customer needs and expectations. The end result was it paid off, because even though we were delayed severely, because 2 weeks is big in the world of production, it panned out all right because what we released was hitch-free and bug-free, and it was a well accepted decision by the stakeholders. Let's go to question 4. How do you measure the success of a program you're managing? Take some time to answer it before listening to my answer. This is how I could answer this question. Success on any program is measured by a combination of quantifiable metrics, such as program budgets, timelines, project deliverables, qualitative measures, but most importantly, stakeholder and customer satisfaction, as well as feedback. It could also be measured by employee engagement. I track progress against these metrics to ensure the program is on track, and I make any necessary adjustments. Let's go to number 5. Can you discuss your experience with program planning and execution? After you, I'll go next. So hit the pause button. Here's my turn. I have extensive planning with both program planning and execution, having managed complex projects at the aero firm. I utilize Agile methodologies to prioritize and deliver on program objectives wherever necessary. I also ensure that our resources are effectively allocated and risks are proactively managed. I go the extra mile where necessary to include metrics such as earned value to ensure that we're in total sync with scope, schedule, and cost. Sometimes I may employ a hybrid approach where some projects are more agile and others are more predictive. Number 6. Can you walk us through your approach to risk management for a program? I sure can. Being a risk management professional, in addition to being an organizational project management maturity model expert, I have systematic approaches to risk management, starting with the planning for risk across the entire program. In a previous employment at the semiconductor firm, I sat down with the PMO manager and strategized a planning approach and a management approach for risks. We had a risk register that was well thought out. The formatting of the register was very meticulous, and the scale that was used to score qualitative and quantitative risks was decided upon, and that was used across the slew of projects within the program. When I've planned risk management, I then prioritize risks that have been discovered and identified by team members based on their likelihood and impact. I ensure that all project managers within the program use one template, one tool, one look for risk, so that we're comparing apples to apples. I then prioritize risks based on likelihood and impact and develop risk mitigation strategies at the program level to reduce the impact on the program. I regularly reevaluate risks with project managers within my program and adjust mitigation strategies as needed. I also involve key stakeholders in the risk management process to ensure their buy-in and support. In this previous program endeavor that I mentioned, this was a divestiture into a large firm, and it was very important that the deal went through hitch-free. For that reason, I had daily meetings with all the project managers within my program. Let's move on to number 7. How do you ensure effective communication and collaboration between program teams and stakeholders? You could answer the question like this. I believe that clear and regular communication is key to effective collaboration and program success. I hold regular check-ins with team members and stakeholders, and I use collaboration tools such as Miro, Asana, Jira, and others to keep everyone informed and aligned. I also encourage open communication, and I actively listen to feedback, ensuring that all stakeholders have a voice in the program and can contribute to its success. Let's move on to the next one. Number 8. How do you stay on top of industry trends and incorporate them into your program management strategies? I would answer the question like this. I stay informed of industry trends in a number of ways, such as regular reading, regular research, staying plugged into the Project Management Institute and other bodies, and I also attend conferences and events. I also have a network of industry peers who I regularly connect with to exchange ideas and insights. I'm also a member of the Project Leadership Institute, projectleadershipinstitute.com, where I network with other like-minded professionals, and I'm regularly updated with what is best in class or new in industry. I regularly connect with other individuals to exchange ideas and thoughts and insights, and when a trend is relevant to a program I'm managing, I assess its potential impact, and I work with the team to incorporate it into our strategies, and in that way, it adds value to the program and supports our goals. Now let's have a very quick synopsis of how I have been answering the question so far. You can hear my voice is pretty even. It is not up and down. You would also be able to see my demeanor that is calm and composed. When you're interviewing, be sure to be cool, calm, and collected, not all over the place and not with fluctuations in how your voice is projecting. This is a very key step in being successful in any interview. Your poise and having the knowledge to disperse back to the person questioning you is important. So you must know your definitions, your tools, your techniques, and the lingo of programs to be able to succeed in such an interview. Let's go to number 9. Can you describe a situation where you had to manage a program with limited resources? Go ahead and answer, and my answer would be something like this. At the semiconductor firm, I was tasked with managing a program that had limited resources and a tight deadline. In fact, I had to jump in as a project manager on one of the projects within my program for human resources. I worked with the team to prioritize deliverables and identify opportunities for resource optimization. We also identified areas where we could leverage external resources or partnerships from other parts of the firm to support the program. Through effective collaboration and resource management, we were able to deliver the program successfully and within the specified timeline. The divestiture went through, and on day one of the new year after we were divested into this firm, everyone was happy. So you notice I am introducing some personal stories into the interview answers, and this just helps underscore your familiarity with your resume and your content. So I tell people, know your resume. I also tell people, know your story. Very important. Number 10. Can you discuss your experience with budget management and financial forecasting for a program? I would answer something like this. Thanks for your question. I have extensive experience in this area, having been a program controller for a slew of projects from the aero industry. Every week without fail, I would have to give an account of how budgets were spent and the earned value metrics, SPI, CPI, CVSV, and even EAC and ETC. So for me, it is extremely important for anyone in program management to have a handle on budget management and financial forecasting, as I did. As you might know, EAC means estimate at completion and ETC means estimate to complete. And I had experience in reporting on very deep analytical financial forecasting for the programs I was on. Let's move on to our next one. Next, we're going to number 11. Can you give an example of a successful program launch and how you managed it? You go ahead, answer to the best of your ability before I share my answer. All right, so I would answer something like this. I have mentioned the semiconductor firm a few times. This is an example of a successful program that I managed. It was a program that touched on very many parts of the firm, and I led a cross-functional team to effectively divest into another firm. The program was successful due to a clear focus on the customer, effective stakeholder management, strong team culture that encouraged collaboration, and open communication. Everyone was ready to roll up their sleeves, and leadership level was high. Through these efforts, we were able to deliver a high quality final divestiture into this second firm without any hitch on day one. It received a lot of positive reviews, and our customers were very pleased. Let's move on to the next one. Can you discuss a time when you had to handle a crisis situation in a program? I'll let you think about it for some time. Okay. So I would answer the question like this. In the Aero firm, I did mention I had experience managing programs with extremely tight deadlines. Having delivered several high pressure programs at both companies I mentioned, when facing a crisis in a program such as the program falling apart, my approach is to sit down with the stakeholders. Let's have a meeting where we can see eye to eye and talk about what is causing the program to fall apart. In one of the programs I was managing, without divulging too much information, it had gotten to the point where the program was about to fall apart because all 7 stakeholders believed that we were not able to deliver what was promised them. After several hours of reassurance and going through facts and figures, both my boss and I were able to convince the senior stakeholders to hold on and give it another try to be able to proceed forward in this program. And as I mentioned earlier, there were some significant delays of 2 weeks, but we were able to get the program back on track. And my approach is to sit down with stakeholders, to have a conversation, and to make way forward together. The Agile Manifesto is my watchword of customer collaboration over contract negotiation. All right, let's move on to number 13. We are almost done. Can you describe your experience with stakeholder management and keeping them satisfied with program outcomes? All right, so I would answer the question like this. In my previous example, I did mention how stakeholders were disillusioned and the program was almost coming to a halt. But I believe that clear communication and a positive mental attitude are key to leading and motivating the team through challenging circumstances. One of the ways I handle stakeholder management and keep my stakeholders satisfied is with regular updates. I encourage team members to voice any concerns and ideas. I also recognize and reward team members' successes. So talking about stakeholders, all the full gamut of stakeholders, I ensure that they are satisfied, they are listened to, they feel heard, and they're happy. By maintaining a positive and supportive work environment, I'm able to keep my team focused on shared goals, and one of our highest priorities is to satisfy the customer. It becomes a win-win for everyone. All right, let's move on to number 14. Can you discuss a situation where you had to make changes to the program scope and how you handled it? All right. So I would say something like this. In one of the firms I mentioned, I had a situation where we needed to make changes to the scope at the last minute. Not only were additional requirements requested by the customer, but these requirements were going to be pretty hard to implement. Knowing that the customer needed them, my boss and I decided to move ahead with those requirements and put them in our traceability matrix before working with vendors and other individuals who made it happen. Making changes to the scope was very important, but it was not done irresponsibly. It was done using an intentional approach by first of all documenting the requirements in our requirements traceability matrix across the entire program, and then running test scripts, use cases, and understanding what exactly we had to do and test to get our stakeholders to be happy. Once the scope was determined and assignments were made to team members, our next step was to tightly manage the schedule, to drive the schedule, I'm not proud of saying we had a lot of overtime to do, but I was working upwards of 70-hour weeks along with other team members. But when the dust settled, when all was said and done, it was a home run. My boss actually got a promotion at the end of that program and left me in the department. But it was a huge success. Now, you probably realize I tell a few stories in my interview. That is just my style. It may or may not be your style, but I don't dwell too much on the story. I just sprinkle it in a little bit and come out of it to make it as realistic as possible, to put a human touch to it so I don't sound robotic. I know my resume pretty well, so as a trainer, it could also come across as rehearsed if I'm not careful. And that's why sometimes I put certain pauses into what I'm saying, or I may accelerate the way I say it, just to ensure that it comes across as being authentic and at the spur of the moment, even though I know my resume so well because I've been to over 50 interviews. You need to know your resume well enough to the point that you're so comfortable in answering questions and narrating any stories you might have. Here is the final one, my friends, and this is number 15. Can you describe a program where you had to lead a virtual team and how you ensured their effectiveness? You do know that in today's world, this is a big question. So I would answer the question like this. In a previous employment in a gaming company on a program, I had to lead a team across the United States and Europe. It was very challenging because of the language barrier. And not only the language barrier, we also had trouble with time differences at first. But as the project proceeded and we began to know each other better, we had a common understanding of the time that was best for both teams. And we were also able to turn on our webcams to ensure that everyone was in sync. We realized that if the webcams were on and everyone was able to see themselves, things went a lot smoother. So to ensure effectiveness, we used the concept, you could call it, of web conferencing, or even at times a fishbowl window, where we worked collaboratively with cameras on and everyone was right there in the zone at the same time collaborating. Sometimes we used a concept known as swarming or mobbing, just to ensure that everyone worked to the highest efficiency on problems that were common to us at the time and needed to be resolved with all hands on deck. And that, my friends, has brought us to the end of these 15 questions. Did that feel like quicksand? Kind of grueling at times. And I mean, these are questions I put together. So if you found these to be helpful, I'd appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe. I also want you to check back here because in the next few days, I'm going to put a link down here so you can get my ebook on program management, a layman's guide, to help you excel and exceed in your project and program management as well, aptitude. So make sure you subscribe, hit like, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Thank you very much, and don't forget, I offer resume help at pgmp.com. I prepare executives and project and program managers for professional interviews, many of who have received glowing reviews after their interviews and gained employment in top Fortune 500 companies. There's the ticker tape again. It's pmanonymous.com. Thank you very much for joining me. I look forward to speaking to you in my next video. Bye for now.